Let me ask you something. What if you went to bed tonight and woke up tomorrow morning with more money than you had when you closed your eyes? Not because you worked harder, not because you got a raise, not because you got lucky at some casino, but because while you were sleeping, while you were dreaming, something you built was quietly, steadily putting money into your pocket. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Like something out of an infomercial at 2 a.m. or one of those too good to be true posts you scroll past on social media. But here's the thing. This is actually how some of the wealthiest people in the world build their money. And it's not magic. It's not some secret that only the elite know. It's a very specific set of business models that have one thing in common. They work even when you don't. Today, we're going to walk through 6 of them, step by step, in plain language. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that most people never figure out: why trading your time for money will always keep you stuck, and what to do instead. So stay with me, because this one might actually change how you think about money forever. Here's a question that sounds simple but runs deeper than most people realize. How do you make money? For most of us, the answer is obvious. You go to work, you do a job, you get paid. Simple. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. Working hard is a virtue. It builds character, discipline, skill. But there's a hidden problem buried inside this model that most people never stop to examine. The problem is this: your time is finite. Think about it. There are 24 hours in a day. You sleep for maybe 7 or 8 of them. You need time to eat, to rest, to exist as a human being. So realistically, you have maybe 10, 12 hours a day where you could possibly be working. And most jobs will pay you for every hour you work, and not a single second more. That means your income has a ceiling, a hard limit. No matter how talented you are, no matter how hard you hustle, you can only earn as many hours as you can physically stay awake and functional. Economists have a name for this. They call it linear income, where your earnings move in a straight line with your effort. 1 hour worked equals 1 unit of income. 2 hours worked, 2 units. Stop working, stop earning. Now compare that to how the wealthiest people actually build their money. Jeff Bezos doesn't personally pack boxes at Amazon. Taylor Swift isn't manually handing out copies of her album every time someone buys it. The landlord who owns 10 apartment buildings isn't personally fixing every leaking faucet every night. What they've done, in very different ways, is figured out how to separate their income from their direct moment-to-moment effort. Psychologists call this the effort-reward decoupling. You do the work once, or you set up a system, and then that work keeps generating rewards long after you've stepped away. And that right there is the key difference between people who always feel like they're running on a treadmill financially and people who actually build wealth. The 6 businesses we're about to talk about, every single one of them is built on this principle. Let's get into it. The 6 businesses that create wealth while you sleep. Business number 1, digital products. Imagine you're a musician and you spend 3 months writing, recording, and producing a song. You pour everything into it, and then on the day you release it, someone buys it. Great, you made some money. But here's where it gets interesting. That same song can be bought again and again and again, 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. You didn't record it 1,000,000 times, you recorded it once, but it sold 1,000,000 times. That is exactly how digital products work, and it's one of the most powerful wealth-building business models that exists today. A digital product is anything you create once in a digital format that can then be sold and delivered automatically, over and over again, without you doing any additional work. Think about what that looks like in real life. Someone who's great at graphic design creates a set of Canva templates, social media post designs, business card layouts, presentation slides. They upload them to a platform like Etsy or Gumroad. They set up an automated payment system, and then they go live their life. While they're at dinner, someone in another country finds their shop, buys their template pack, and downloads it automatically. No human intervention needed. No shipping, no manufacturing, no customer service call at midnight. Or think about an ebook. You write a guide about something you know really well. Maybe it's how to start a garden, how to learn a language faster, how to negotiate your salary. You write it once, you upload it, and it can sell indefinitely. Or think about online courses. Someone who understands fitness, or cooking, or coding, or photography records a series of video lessons. They set up the course on a platform, people pay to access it. The instructor films those videos once, and they keep generating income for months or years. Now, there's a psychological reason why so many people never do this even when they could. It's called the effort visibility bias. We're wired to feel like income should require visible, ongoing effort. If we're not working right now, it feels wrong to be earning money. It feels like cheating somehow. But in reality, that's just a mental model we absorbed from the traditional world of work. In reality, a blacksmith who makes a hammer is done making that hammer. The farmer who grows the corn is done once it's harvested and sold. Value doesn't have to keep being created in real time to be sold. Digital products take this even further because there's no physical limit. A hammer can only be in one place. A digital file can be in a million places at once. The upfront work is real. You have to create something genuinely useful and good. But once it's built, the earning potential is completely untethered from your time. Business number 2, content creation with ad revenue. Now, this one might sound familiar, but most people severely underestimate how the economics actually work. Let's think about something simple. You write an article, a really good, detailed article about, let's say, how to choose the best running shoes. You spend a weekend researching and writing it. You publish it on a website. Now, because it's well written and genuinely helpful, Google starts to rank it. People search best running shoes, and your article appears. They click, they read, and the ads displayed on that page generate a small amount of revenue every time they do. That article, it might get read 1,000 times this month, and next month, and the month after that, for years, without you touching it again. That's the content model, and it applies across YouTube videos, blog posts, podcasts, newsletters, anywhere you create content that gets consumed repeatedly over time. There's a concept in psychology called the long tail. Imagine a chart. On one side, you have a very small number of hugely popular songs or movies, the blockbusters. On the other side, you have an enormous long tail of smaller, niche content pieces that each attract a small but steady audience. Big creators chase the short head, the viral videos, the trending topics. But smart creators understand that a library of consistent niche content in that long tail can generate just as much total income, often more, because each piece adds to the whole. A YouTube channel with 500 videos isn't just one asset, it's 500 individual assets, each one pulling in views, ad revenue, and new subscribers every day. And this is why the best time to start a YouTube channel, a podcast, or a blog isn't tomorrow. It was 5 years ago. The second best time? Right now. Business number 3, affiliate marketing. Okay, so this one is sneaky in the best way possible. Imagine you have a friend who is obsessed with coffee. They've tried every single coffee maker on the market. They know which ones are worth buying and which ones are overpriced trash, and you trust their opinion completely. So when you need a coffee maker, you ask them. They send you a link, you buy it, you're happy. Now, imagine that every time your friend sends someone a link to a product and they buy it, the company gives your friend a small percentage of that sale as a thank you for sending customers their way. That's affiliate marketing, and it's one of the oldest wealth-building models on the internet. Here's how it works in practice. You create content, a blog, a YouTube channel, a podcast, a social media presence, around a topic you actually know something about, and within that content, you recommend products or services that are genuinely useful to your audience. You include special tracking links. When someone clicks your link and buys, you earn a commission. Amazon's affiliate program, for example, pays commissions on virtually anything sold through the platform. So a travel blogger who reviews luggage bags, packing cubes, and travel adapters can earn commissions every time a reader buys one of those items. And that reader was already going to buy it anyway. They just needed a trustworthy recommendation to know which one to choose. The wealth-building power here is in the evergreen content that stays relevant and useful for a long time. A video titled Best Budget Laptops of 2019 ages out quickly, but how to pick the right laptop for college students is useful for years. There's a principle in psychology called trust transfer. When you build a real relationship with an audience, when they genuinely trust your opinions, that trust extends to your recommendations, and people buy from people they trust. The key word is genuine. The affiliate marketing model collapses the moment it becomes about recommending anything and everything just to earn commissions, regardless of quality. But done with integrity, it's an extraordinarily efficient business because you're essentially being paid to share knowledge you already have. And once a piece of content is published and ranking, the affiliate links inside it can generate commissions for years without you doing a single additional thing. Business number 4, rental income, physical and digital. Let's talk about the oldest passive income business in human history, rental income. Someone else uses something you own. They pay you for the privilege. You go on with your life. Now, when most people hear rental income, they picture landlords, big apartment buildings, real estate tycoons. And yes, that's part of it, but the concept is much broader than that and much more accessible than most people think. Here's the simple version of how real estate works. You buy a property, you rent it out. The tenant pays you monthly rent. If that rent is higher than your mortgage payment, insurance, taxes, and maintenance costs, you have positive cash flow, money coming in while you sleep. There's a concept in wealth psychology called asset mentality versus consumer mentality. People with a consumer mentality look at a house and think, this is where I live. People with an asset mentality look at a house and think, this is something that can generate income. Neither is wrong, you need somewhere to live. But training yourself to see the income-generating potential in things is a fundamental mental shift that changes how you approach money. Now, here's where it gets interesting for people who don't have hundreds of thousands to drop on a property. The rental model has exploded into entirely new territories. You can rent out a spare room or your entire place on platforms like Airbnb, turning your existing home into an income-generating asset. You can rent out your car on platforms that connect car owners with people who need a vehicle for a day or a weekend. But the most fascinating evolution of the rental model is digital rentals. Software companies don't sell software anymore, they rent it to you. Adobe doesn't give you Photoshop. They charge you a monthly subscription for access to it, every month, forever. That's a rental model applied to code. Music streaming services rent you access to millions of songs. Netflix rents you access to movies and shows. The psychology behind this is something called the subscription trap, not in a manipulative sense, but in the sense that once people integrate a service into their daily lives, they become extremely reluctant to cancel it. It just quietly charges every month. If you build a software tool, a membership community, a library of resources, anything where the value is in ongoing access, you have a recurring revenue rental business. And recurring revenue is the holy grail of passive income because it's predictable, stable, and grows over time as you add subscribers without losing old ones. Business number 5, licensing and royalties. This is probably the least talked about model on this list, and possibly the most elegant. Here's the concept. You create something once, something unique, a piece of music, a design, a patent, a book, a photograph, a piece of software, a business process, a brand, and then you give other people or companies the right to use that thing in exchange for a fee. They pay you. You didn't do anything extra. You just let them use what you already made. That fee is called a royalty, and royalties are one of the most beautiful forms of passive income because the creation is often something you would have made anyway. Think about songwriters. When a famous artist performs a song on tour, they earn a performance fee, but the songwriter who wrote those lyrics, if it wasn't them, earns a royalty every time it's performed, every time it plays on the radio, every time it's streamed, every time it's licensed in a movie or TV show. One song, infinite uses, royalties every time. Or think about patents. If you invent a product or a process, something genuinely novel and useful, you can patent it, and then instead of manufacturing it yourself, you can license that patent to large companies who pay you a percentage of every sale they make using your invention. They do the work of manufacturing, marketing, and selling. You collect royalties. Photography works the same way. A photographer takes an image, they upload it to a stock photography site. Every time a business downloads that image for an advertisement or a website, the photographer earns a royalty. One photo, taken once, can be licensed thousands of times. There's a deeper psychological principle here worth understanding, what behavioral economists call the creation premium. We dramatically overvalue things we create ourselves, but we also dramatically undervalue the long-term worth of what we create. We think about the upside of selling something once rather than the cumulative power of licensing it many times. The wealthiest creators in the world understand that owning your intellectual property and licensing it rather than selling it outright is often the far superior wealth-building strategy. All right, this last one is where things get really powerful, and it requires us to zoom out and look at the biggest picture. Every business we've talked about so far has one thing in common. At some point, you built something, and then that something kept working on your behalf. But what if you could take it one step further? What if you didn't just build systems, you invested in other people's systems? Or you built a business specifically designed to run without you? This is the model that creates genuinely transformational wealth. Part 1, building a systems-dependent business. There's a difference between building a business that depends on you and building a business that depends on a system. A freelance graphic designer who does all the work themselves has a job. A design agency with a team, proven processes, and a client pipeline that runs smoothly, that's a business. The owner doesn't design every logo, the system does. The goal of this model is to build something where the processes, the team, the software, and the structure are what makes the business run, not your daily presence. This takes enormous work to set up, but once a business is truly systematized, it can generate income whether you're there or not, and critically, it becomes sellable. A business that depends on you personally is very hard to sell because it leaves with you. A business built on systems is an asset someone else can buy and operate. This is why entrepreneurs who build to sell, who systematize everything from the start, often create massive wealth in a single exit, even if the monthly cash flow seemed modest. Part 2, investing in other people's businesses. This is the model that has probably created more millionaires than any other in modern history. When you buy shares of stock in a public company, even just a few $100s worth, you become a partial owner of that business, a tiny sliver but an ownership stake nonetheless. And as that company grows, as it earns more revenue, as it becomes more valuable, your tiny sliver grows with it. The company's employees go to work every day, the company's systems run, products get made and sold, and your investment quietly, slowly compounds in value. This is why index fund investing, buying a small piece of hundreds or thousands of companies at once, is considered by many financial experts to be one of the most reliable wealth-building tools available to ordinary people, not because it's exciting, but because it's systematic, diversified, and requires almost no active management. There's a psychological barrier that stops most people from investing early, and it's called present bias. We feel the loss of $20 today much more sharply than we feel the gain of $200 10 years from now. So we spend the $20 instead of investing it. But here's what compound interest actually looks like in practice. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 25, and the market returns an average of 8% per year, which is historically reasonable, by the time you're 65, you'll have accumulated roughly $1.7 million. Not because you contributed $1.7 million, you contributed $240,000. The rest, over $1.4 million, was created by the system working while you weren't, by your money making money while you slept. The deeper truth about wealth and human psychology. Now, I want to step back and share something that ties all 6 of these businesses together, because there's a deeper psychological truth here that most people miss. Here's the thing about passive income and wealth building businesses: they don't feel natural to most people, and there's a reason for that. For hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, income was completely linear. You hunted, you ate. You farmed, you survived. You worked, you were paid. The direct connection between effort and reward was hardwired into our understanding of how the world operates. And then the modern economy arrived and scrambled everything. Suddenly, you could write a book once and earn from it 100 years later. You could own a tiny sliver of a company on the other side of the world and earn dividends while you slept. You could create a digital course on a Tuesday and have strangers buy it every day for the next decade. The problem is that our brains still run on the old software. We feel uncomfortable with income that doesn't require constant effort. We feel suspicious of it, like it must be too good to be true, or like we don't deserve it if we didn't work for it today. This is what wealth psychologists call the scarcity loop, a mental model that keeps people anchored to the idea that they must always be actively trading time for money, because deep down they fear that if they stop working right now, the money will stop too. And for people with only linear income, that fear is completely justified, because it's true. The shift happens when you understand that there are 2 entirely different kinds of financial work. There's active work, the kind where you show up, do the task, get paid, direct and immediate. And there's leverage work, the kind where you build, create, or invest in something that multiplies you effort over time. Slower, less immediate, but exponentially more powerful. The people who build real wealth, they do both. They keep their active income to pay the bills while they slowly build their leverage income on the side. And over time, the leverage income catches up with the active income and then surpasses it. And eventually, the active work becomes optional. That's what financial freedom actually is. Not retirement, not sitting on a beach doing nothing forever, just the point where your money works hard enough that your time is yours to use however you choose. What you should do differently. So, what does this actually mean for you? Because I know watching a video is easy, actually building something is hard, and the gap between "this makes sense" and "I'm actually doing this" is where most people get stuck. Here's the framework I want you to take away from this. Step 1, identify what you already know. Every single business model we talked about starts with something you already have: a skill, a piece of knowledge, an interest, an asset you own, time you're not using productively. Digital products start with what you know. Content starts with what you care about. Affiliate marketing starts with what you trust. Rentals start with what you own. Licensing starts with what you create. Investing starts with whatever money you can set aside, even if it's small. You don't need to build all 6. You need to find the one that best matches your current situation. Step 2, start ridiculously small. The biggest mistake people make is waiting until they have everything figured out: the perfect business plan, the perfect product, the perfect time. There's no perfect time. There's only now and later has a habit of never arriving. Start with one piece of content, one digital product, one investment of $50, one experiment. The goal isn't to replace your income tomorrow. The goal is to start the engine. Because once you have one small stream of passive income, even $5 a month, something shifts in your brain. It becomes real, it becomes possible, and the possibility of more becomes something you're actually building toward, not just dreaming about. Step 3, prioritize assets over expenses. Every financial decision you make can be viewed through a simple lens. Does this purchase make me more money over time, or does it take money away? This doesn't mean never spending money on enjoyment. Life is too short for that kind of miserable austerity. But it means being intentional, choosing to spend on experiences over depreciating things, choosing to invest before you spend, choosing to buy assets before you upgrade your lifestyle. The Millionaire Next Door, one of the most important books ever written about how ordinary people build wealth, found something fascinating when researchers studied real millionaires. They weren't the flashy, big spenders you see on TV. They were quiet, modest, consistent builders, people who lived beneath their means and quietly accumulated assets over decades. The ones spending the most on status symbols were often the least wealthy, the ones who looked wealthy, not the ones who were. Step 4. Let time do the heavy lifting. Compound growth is the most boring, most reliable, most underappreciated force in personal finance. A 25-year-old who invests consistently will almost always dramatically out-earn a 40-year-old who starts with 10 times more capital, simply because time is the multiplier that no amount of money can buy back. Every year you wait is a year of compounding you don't get. Every year you start is a year of compounding you do. Closing. The question that changes everything. So, here's where we land. 5 businesses, 6 models, 6 different ways that the wealthiest and most financially free people on the planet have figured out how to separate their income from their time. Digital products that sell while you sleep, content libraries that keep attracting new audiences for years, affiliate recommendations that earn commissions from genuine trust, rental models, physical or digital, that turn your assets into income streams, royalties and licensing that reward creation indefinitely, and systems and investments that put your money or your business to work so you don't have to be there every minute. None of these are shortcuts. None of them happen overnight. Every single one requires real work, real learning, and real patience. But here's the question I want to leave you with. 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older regardless of what you do today. The only question is, what will you have built in those 5 years? Will you still be trading every hour for every dollar? Or will you have a system, however small, however imperfect, that works for you even when you're not working? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So, which of these 6 businesses felt most like you? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if this video changed how you think about money even a little bit, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the most powerful financial advice is just helping someone see what's actually possible. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe and like.